So people can completely ruin everything for themselves and their families by trying not to be greedy.
Trying not to be greedy. Okay.
And giving their money away all the time.
Okay.
And feeling like they always have to pay for everyone's stuff everywhere and all that.
Yep.
So what is that?
Bro, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's so many layers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to love the fact that people have hearts that want to give and help people, especially their family or their community. But you love that part. There's also a cultural dynamic in this.
Okay.
So there's a cultural dynamic where in some cultures, you would be expected to help out your family. You would be expected to care and provide for your siblings and for your parents and that kind of thing if you earned a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course in America we have a much more individualistic society. So people who earn a lot, it's not really in the setting of what you have to give to family. But I think like what you were talking about earlier though, I think it goes beyond that question of do I feel like I need to give to family, and whereas people, family, friends, people you knew growing up come out of the woodworks, and now all of a sudden they want a little piece of what you've got. And so if you feel like you owe it to them somehow, some way, I mean, I think one can become very foolish with their money.
Okay.
Because sometimes we have to also realize who, like, in giving this money to this person, is it actually helping them?
Right.
Is it just enabling them not to work for a couple of years, or, I mean, whatever it is? Are they actually going to be a better person, like, going forward, a contributing individual to society? Or that, like, what does it make them? What does it, it's one thing, like, probably like the most common thing, right, is like, athletes, like let's say they make it to professional, professional team, and they end up buying their mom a house. Mm-hmm. That happens, I mean, over and over again. Yeah. And I think like I get that, right? But then you've got those same type athletes, and they feel like they owe it to not just their mom, but they owe it to like everybody they knew.
Right.
And now they have these massive entourages, and not because they necessarily even feel like they want to be, but they feel they owe it to these people. And then by the time they're out of the league or several years later, they're broke. And I think you end up with those cycles again, because people feel like what you're talking about here, that they've got to try to help these people. And then if you throw, and that's without a sense of trying to be greedy or not, and then you throw the context of the guilt of being greedy by not giving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that can really derail some people. And so I guess this is like where wisdom really comes into play, right?
Well, that's my next question.
Okay.
Basically, is how do I deal with the fact that if I have a lot of money, I'm gonna feel like I'm greedy. Everyone can be telling me I'm greedy. And if I also have a lot of money, people can be asking for it, and I feel like I have to give it away.
Right.
Where is that balance?
Oh boy. Again, I think a lot of it probably has to do with like, all right, what's my, all right, obviously the heart in the matter is I don't want to be greedy.
Right.
And so the heart is true.
And part of it is, how do I know that Jesus is okay with what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because that would be like, if you were trying to be a Christian,
sure,
that would be the biggest thing. Is like,
absolutely,
is like every check, am I doing
the right thing?
The right thing with it according to Jesus?
Yeah.
What's the like?
I
10% to him, and then who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, I mean, I really think, I mean, I think it's hard. I think it's much more difficult than. I think if you don't have money, you don't realize how hard that situation is.
Right.
Because we think, man, if I didn't have money, I'm good. Right. Well, what we're also talking about is I have enough money to not just survive paycheck to paycheck, but if I have enough money to be comfortable, right? In my
I don't have any money, and I figure that could be hard.
Yeah. 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 And I think, but if one's got a lot of money, I think that's really hard because you're constantly having to ask, well, Lord, what do I do with this? Holy Spirit, what do I do, with this amount of money? Is there a mission agency I'm supposed to be supporting? Is there, does the church need something? There's all these, does my family?
Every time you give to an organization, you don't know if they're doing the right
thing with it,
stuff with it. And I had it's too complicated.
Yeah. Man.
So people don't get rich.
Well,
that's the reason.
That's really the reason. Yeah. I think it's really complicated. Not complicated. Well, maybe it is. I think it's hard for individuals that are really wanting to do the right thing with what they have. So we're not talking about the jerks that just, they got their money. It's their money.
Yeah.
They don't care what anybody else is saying or doing about it. We're talking about the people that have money and they're really genuinely, honestly wanting to do the right thing with it. And not go broke at the same time,
right,
by giving it all away. But being faithful to the Lord and being faithful to his people. And I like the pull on people to care for their family when they're in that situation, whether that is parents or siblings or children, grandchildren, the pull on them to do the right thing for their church, for their community. That's a lot of pull.
It seems like it'd be really easy to just I guess that's why that verse is in there, that it's hard for rich people to go through a needle and get into heaven through there or whatever.
Yeah.
That after trying to figure all that out and deal with it, even if you were trying to do the right Christian thing, it'd be like, I don't know. And this is too hard. Screw it. I'm going to be rich and have fun.
Right.
with my money.
Right. And you're talking about where Jesus says, it's more difficult for, to pass through the eye of a needle, right? Than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven.
He never mentions the size of the needle.
This is true. But I think we understand what he's getting at principally. And so I think that I think what you're saying is hard because one, let's say money doesn't, because this person, obviously money doesn't own them, right?
Mm-hmm.
To this person, they're not wanting to be greedy. Money doesn't have their heart.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has their heart. They're just trying to figure out what's the right thing to do with the money they do have. And I think a lot of counsel from probably some other people would behoove them. And I know that's dicey in of itself because it's like, right, I got to make sure I'm talking to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, the right people are probably not all your family members. It's probably a financial advisor outside of that world. And that can actually but then again, you don't want to just be turned into a selfish person and just take all the money you have and throw it into an account or throw it into the market and just, let it be. How to be faithful with that. So I've never been in that situation. So I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you, other than the fact of I think it's just the Holy Spirit. You got a lot of time in prayer. Ask the Lord for wisdom. You're going to, I guess, prepare, a budget sheet, and you're going to want to save what you can. And I think and yet be generous. And how to balance that out, man, that's different for every person too.
All right. Well, if we get rich,
all right,
somehow,
okay,
let's do another episode.
That sounds great. When we
do greed part 2,
when we've got money just flying in,
yeah,
we will do another episode on how we handled it.
Yep.